Hello and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Thursday, July 30th edition of our video devotionals. Thank you so much for joining us today and hope your Thursday is going well. And we're going to be in Acts chapter 27 today, starting verse 21. So if you want to find that, kind of get to things quickly, get you in and out. And we do appreciate you though. And so thanks for the acknowledgments, the comments, all of that. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it here. Acts 27, here at the end of the book of Acts. The setting here is Paul is being sent to Rome to stand before Caesar, and they're on this ship, and there's this massive storm that comes up, and it's at the point of them going down, the ship going down. So Paul's on it, and a total of, I believe it's 276, so it says 276 souls, 276 souls or people on that ship, so it had to be a pretty big ship to have all those people. Of course, there's prisoners on there. So here we find in verse 21, basically they're in a situation where are we going to die, or, is it hopeless and all of that. But notice what it says, but after long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. So he's basically saying, we'll all live, the ship will be destroyed, but you should have listened to me back there at Crete where we left. He said, you should listen then, but they didn't. So here they are. He said, but be of good cheer. All right, notice here in verse 23, for there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall be even as it was told me. So we're going to stop right there, and of course they'll end up on this island, and some amazing things happen there. But here we go back to, here's Paul the Apostle, and he's pretty much the lone voice at this time. And he said twice here, he said, be of good cheer. So he said there in verse number 22, he says, and now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. So he says, be of good cheer, cheer up. He says, because none of us are going to die. And that's certainly something to think about, and to think when you think, you're going to go down. These were no doubt seasoned sailors. There's a captain there of the ship, and he's thinking, I know what this looks like, and this don't look good. And here's Paul, the prisoner of all people, saying everything's going to be just fine, be of good cheer. It's always good to have people around you that know what's going on. In this case, it's because God had enlightened them. So it's always good to be around people who know God, who know situations, and have faith in God. So first of all, be of good cheer. We're all going to live. That's a good thing. And then he said here in verse number, verse number 25, Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall be even as it was told me. They were excited because somebody gave them some hope, and of course it would turn out to be a situation in which everybody would live. But, when you look at this here, it's not just the people who hear somebody else say that, but, we ourselves can have good cheer, like Paul is telling them. There's times where we must be the voice that people hear, listen to us. In a family, it's the mom and dad, of course. They're the adults, and when they know God, they tell the children when things are going on. Something as simple as, let's say, a thunderstorm, for example. When I was a kid, there were times I was scared, and the lightning and the thunder was all around us, and maybe they put out those severe warnings like they do. And then when someone says it's going to be just fine, and someone's there, then, boy, don't you feel good? And besides that, of course, we know God, when you're a kid, you kind of look up to adults, and then you become like I am. I'm an adult now. Who looks up to me? Others look up to me. Not that I'm anybody to really look up to, but the point is, I'm not looking at from a child's perspective to another adult. I am the adult. I'm a pastor at church, and when you walk with God and you read things just like this, then you can tell other people, be of good cheer. I believe God. And of course, God had informed Paul that everything would be fine. So I believe the Lord leads us and guides us. Of course, we have so many wonderful accounts in the scripture that gives us faith, but there's times when, we're living our life and things are going on all around us, stormy things per se. And sometimes that's in the, not so much in the literal sense. But the point is, believe God, and you can be of good cheer because you believe God, and God's not going to allow anything to happen to you that God doesn't allow to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? So be thankful that you know the Lord. Be thankful we have people around us who know the Lord that can bring us cheer, and you be the kind of person that could also do the same just by simply believing God, trusting God, okay? All right, we're going to stop right there. Have a great day, safe day, healthy day, Lord willing. We'll be back tomorrow on the last day of July. Hard to believe, but it will be, and thank you for watching.